welcome back to the School for Professional Dog Listeners YouTube channel. Today, Julie and I are going to talk about something that can be quite sticky, something that can be quite tricky in the dog world. We're going to talk about some of the myths that surround dog listening. Basically, we want to discuss what some people think dog listening is versus what it actually really is. So we're really excited to talk about this. And I don't know, maybe this could be part one. Let us know what you think of this conversation afterwards, and you can tell us what you would like us to discuss in the future. So we thought we'd start with a really common one that we've heard people come to us with, and that is that some people think dog listeners use dominance. Quite a big word that has a lot of context around it. So I thought we might delve into that one, if you wouldn't mind, Julie, today. Sometimes I think that people believe that dog listeners use dominance because of our understanding of the importance of structure and hierarchy within a canine family group. And I think that can cause confusion. I think it can bring up a number of different issues for people, actually. One of them being that domestic dogs don't function in a hierarchy anymore. So is that something that you've come across as well, Julie?
Yes, it absolutely is something that I have come across. And I kind of, I see it around a lot in like kind of, ironically, more traditional sort of, like maybe Facebook groups or communities that, for some reason there's been this kind of more recent thing around that dogs just don't. It's not their natural way to be part of a pack to stay safe. And
I feel like that there's this suggestion that domestication means that they don't have these instincts anymore, that maybe we as humans have genetically modified our dogs enough, or to an extent that they now understand our human social systems, so they don't need their own. You know, something around that I think is going on.
yes, something like that. And it just points to kind of the human ego, being through the roof because, they've only been domesticated in the way that we live with them now. I mean, they've been domesticated in the sense that they've lived with humans for thousands of years, but in like a house as a cuddly toy kind of thing, um, we've only been doing that really for less than 100 years, I would say,
Yeah.
because even 50 years ago, dogs often lived outside, they were on farms, they had specific jobs, all that kind of stuff. So the idea that yeah, we've genetically modified their natural way of being is kind of strange to me.
Yeah.
And also, I think for me, why I still love dog listening is because, well, it works for a start, and I see every day in conversation with my clients and with my own dogs I look after that come to stay. I see that there is definitely they feel safer when there is someone making the decisions, someone taking that leadership role.
Yeah.
And for me personally, that's enough.
Yes.
That's enough for me to go, yeah, this still works. I don't need to go looking for anything else, really.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I often get, have a conversation with somebody that might say that dogs don't live in packs anymore, and that, the way we use structure within dog listening doesn't mean anything to them because they know that we are not dogs. So our dogs know that we are not dogs, and so therefore they're not in a pack. Which yeah, I kind of agree that our dogs are so smart. Of course they know we're different, that we are the humans, they are the dogs, but it's still a group. You know, when we live in a household, that is a group for a dog. Even the cat will form part of that group. And often the cat is at the top of the hierarchy, actually. We often find that, don't we?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's the bit that I quite like to have a discussion around is that, yeah, I totally agree. Our dogs know we're not dogs, and they may not be living in a dog pack, but they are still living in a family group. It's a mixed species family group.
Yeah.
And the awesome beings that they need to understand their role, and they will naturally step up into quite a responsible role in that family group if they don't see it coming from anywhere else. That's what
Yeah.
we see.
That's what we see. And I guess what I've seen is that in the domestic environment, that is different to a dog free living, because when a dog is free living, they are able to make decisions around where they're going to get their food, where they're going to find safety, who they want to hang around with. Whereas we've taken all that away from them when we're talking about the domestic dog living in a house with, you know, two adults, two kids, and a cat kind of thing. It's like that's where um, we've taken a lot of choices away from them by living with them in the way that we do live with them.
Mm.
And so dog listening is actually about giving them some autonomy back, giving them some free will back, by allowing them to feel safe in this crazy world that we've put them in, that is hard for them to understand, because when we bring it back to safety and survival, so we've got safety and survival, which means shelter and food, essentially. And they don't understand where the food comes from. Like, it comes out of that cupboard, but how it got there, they don't know. We went to Tesco's or Sainsbury's or whatever. And so it's very confusing. Like, our world is very confusing for them.
Yeah.
So anything that we can do to um, help them to feel safe and to be fed and to have shelter. And we tend to get the shelter and the food bit right. There's mixed messages with the food, but we give them the opportunity to eat. We don't tend to see dogs that are starving. That's a different situation.
Mm.
But when you've got a dog that has shelter, that has food, the issue is safety.
Yeah.
And that's where the structure will help to give them safety in a world that they don't understand.
And it's very easy for a human to miss that really important safety and survival concept because we've got locks on our doors and we feel safe and we know we can survive because we've got our bank accounts and we know where the supermarket is. It's really easy not to feel that important instinct for safety and survival when we live so comfortably.
Yeah. And it's then hard to have empathy for some of the things that they're doing, which
Yeah.
actually is because of a safety issue rather than because they want to choke themselves on the way to the park by pulling on the lead and barking at everything that moves or
Yeah.
being worried when you leave.
Mm.
It's Yeah, it's just helping them to feel safe in our crazy world. And I do want to share an example, if that's okay, that give me has given me uh, a lot of empathy for what our dogs go through. Then it happened just recently, a couple of months ago, when I was on holiday on safari, and in our wisdom, we decided to go on a bushwalk. So we're in a country that I don't know very well. I've been many times, but I don't know it that well. We're now out in the bush, so it's an environment that's not. It's familiar to me in the way that the dog's environment is familiar to them, but I don't understand it. I don't know the rules of the bush, and I kind of know the rules when I'm in a Jeep and I'm going around, but when I get out of that Jeep and start to walk through the bush, I suddenly realize that this must be how our dogs feel when we take them out for a walk. A lot of the time it's familiar, but they don't understand the rules. It's not natural. And so we were walking through the bush, and the feelings inside me were like, I don't know what's going to happen next. I have no idea what's going to happen next. Now, they had told us, they'd given us some rules, and we had to walk behind each other. And if he did this, I think it was, we had to all freeze and stand still and kind of listen for who knows what. And then we came across some buffalo, which obviously for me were very scary. The people at the front are holding rifles. There's a lot of unknowns. And I think for our dogs in our world, there's a lot of unknowns. And so if we can start to have some empathy for them, then it makes it a lot easier to implement dog listening and understand dog listening and really see that it's about safety and security, and that leadership is not dominance. Like me out in the bush, trust me, I wanted somebody to make some decisions because I was like, well, I don't understand this world, but I trust that you do.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting because there was one person there that I wasn't convinced could and I very much behaved in a different way than I did with the person that had instilled some trust. And so again, that's what we're doing. We're just showing our dogs that they can trust us with their life when we go out and about. Um, so
Oh,
yeah,
that's
that just came to
great.
mind.
It's a really, really good example. Um, that really shows we choose to follow those who we think are capable and that we trust are capable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the record, there's a couple of people. One of them is behaving in a very, very calm way, in a very slow way, in a very confident way. And so, all of those things, when you're in a situation where you feel unsure, which is often what our dogs find themselves in, they're feeling unsure. And we know they're feeling unsure because they're behaving erratically. They're barking, they're lunging, they're freezing, their ears are back. All these things show us that they feel unsure. And actually, when I was in that situation, that's exactly, I wasn't barking and lunging. Had somebody pushed me, I might well have, but I was definitely freezing. My ears were definitely back listening, and I was definitely, unsure of what was happening. And so I needed to have somebody prove
Yeah.
themselves to me
Yeah.
that they were in control and they knew what to do.
Yeah.
And that's really what dog listening is all about. It's the difference between dominance, because in that environment, there was no dominance. This person wasn't forcing me to do anything. He wasn't controlling me. In fact, he said, if you don't want to come, because I had a conversation before I went, if you don't want to come, that's okay. I was like, okay, now I have a bit of choice here. I feel a lot better about this. And so with dog listening, that's really what we're doing. It's
Mm.
not dominance, it's about leadership and decision making.
Yeah.
That's really what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
and that's why.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we get really specific about this thought that some people have about dominance, what is it that they're actually talking about? Because I think those people that I speak to are meaning a quite a physical dominance. So, really specifically, what can that look like? All sorts of physical ways to dominate and control another being. I think, one of those obvious ways is an alpha roll, which is where you put the dog on its side and hold them down on the floor. And so they're lower than you and you not and they don't move. Yeah,
Yeah.
that that is unfortunately what some people are picturing when they're talking about dominance.
Or even maybe leadership.
Possibly, depending on what leadership looks like to them.
Yeah, what that
So,
looks like.
if
Yeah.
in your early life, when you
Mm.
were training to be a professional dog listener, was this physical dominance aspect ever part of your curriculum?
No, I would say up until that point, it was part of my curriculum in my head,
Yeah,
and it was part of one of the many ways that I would try to control my dog. I would, pull their collar, I would, pull them back, I would, even shouting and saying no.
yeah,
That was all of the things that I had tried up until I came across dog listening.
yeah,
And it was what I actually realized in the early days, and well, it's still true now, is that if I just did the opposite of whatever I thought or whatever I had been doing before, I would be going in the right direction. Because even even the idea of shouting at a dog doesn't have a place in dog listening. Never mind yanking their collar or alpha rolling them or, any kind of physical dominance.
mm,
And, we could go into many reasons why that's not sensible, not least safety and who's going to come off worst if you try and alpha roll a big dog with big teeth. But just to kind of keep on track, yeah, I mean, it's literally the polar opposite of that.
yeah.
Did you ever have anything like that in your?
Exactly the same. Up until the point of dog listening, it was something that I knew about. Yeah, for sure. And then we were taught that we never need to put any pressure on a dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that if we get to a point where we're so annoyed and we really feel like we need to go, no, stop it, then we've missed something. You
Yeah.
know, and so that was what was enlightening when I first started training as a professional dog listener, was this, we never need to get to that point. Because when we do get to that point, we're breaking a bond. You know, we're interfering with trust and our connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
we're
it's
trying to control another being. And as we all know, well, many of us know who have been into personal development, we can only barely control ourselves, never mind anyone else. Um,
yeah.
so why are we even trying? Actually, what we need to do, this trying to physically dominate a dog is just putting a muscle against another muscle. We're just trying to out physical each other. We're not doing anything about the reason they are choosing that behavior in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I just realized as we were talking is that happily in with the people that I work with now and with clients now, and the people that come to our school that this dog listening resonates with, is the worst that happens is that we shout at them. That is the worst. And at that point, we know, okay, let's step back. Let's look at what's going on here. Let's really, really look at why the dog's doing what it's doing, why we're doing what it's doing. If we find ourselves shouting, like what's going on, what's happened, let's look at it there. And I actually don't see in my world anymore very much physical dominance. It doesn't because we're kind of addressing it at the point of shouting. Because for me, once we start shouting at our dogs, we've kind of lost control. It's a bit like, when I was in the bush, if that person, that man that was at the lead, if he'd started losing it, then, at that point, like we just have to stop and go home and get back in the van or do whatever we needed to do, because at that point we've kind of lost it.
Mm,
We've lost anything really, and so it means that the threshold for which we need to intervene and step up as our leader and as a decision maker, it can just be so gentle. It can be so kind.
yeah.
And, literally the worst that would happen is that you lose it and shout at them, which is not ideal, does break trust, but at least we're not dominating, like physically dominating
Yeah.
or causing any physical harm to the dog.
In our world, it's about controlling the situation better so that our dogs never feel like they have to choose reactive behavior.
Yeah.
You
And the
know,
less that happens, the less likely you are, like your tolerance is really high because you're like, oh well, it happens. Of course it does. They're not robots. Of course it
yeah,
happens. But we're in a much better state of mind. We're in a much better place
yeah,
to be able to help them and deal with it and look at the environment. Like there's so many things that can be done. Like dog listening, there's just so many things that can be done before you would ever have to think about physically dominating a dog
yeah.
or
And
even mentally dominating them.
no, it quite. And just as you said that, I was thinking, yeah, if say Ludo was to react big time, that would make me think, oh gosh, he's really struggling today with whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because we've reached our level of communication and relationship where he just doesn't do that. So if he did, my tolerance to it is more of an understanding about it. It's like, oh gosh, right, what can I do to help him,
Yeah.
in this situation?
Yeah.
Because it's when you control their environment for them, it's much more unusual
Yeah. And
that they do react big time.
yeah, speak to them in their language, i.e. dog listening.
Yeah.
Then we've got a communication and yeah, love it. Thanks.
Yeah. So what we're trying to work on is, yeah, this, it's like an intellectual connection, isn't it? We're not really, we shouldn't ever really be physically challenging our dogs. A bit like shouting, once we're there, we're a bit like, okay, we've missed something
Yeah.
here. So we've got, when we learn their language, we can connect with them, we can understand each other, and then we provide the environment so that they can use their brilliant minds and figure out what it is that they need to do and not to do to live together with us peacefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that brings us to this. Does dominance, when people talk about dominance, does it also interact with the word leadership? And I wonder whether it does sometimes. I think people sometimes we've reached a place where we fear stepping up to be a leader for our dogs in case that's dominant. That's
Yeah.
again, it's not what we're talking about. Think of that calm, confident leader in your life that you've really enjoyed being in your life. Maybe it was a teacher or a sports coach or some kind of community leader, not the bullying, shouty one that you were
Yeah.
scared of and you did what they said because you were scared of the punishment afterwards. But
Yeah.
that one that was really inspiring, that you wanted to do your best for. That's the kind of leadership that we're talking about in dog listening, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that's the sort of decision maker that we are trying to be for our dogs, to
Yeah.
inspire them to enjoy being with us and choose to be with us of their own free will.
Yeah. Beautifully put. Exactly. Leadership and decision making or decision maker. Um, I guess that's more what I would say is more accurate, and what dog listening is really about.
Lovely. Okay, good. Thank you, Julie.
You're
And thank
welcome.
you to everybody for joining us today. Hopefully, you enjoyed hearing a bit about the more common discussions that we have as dog listeners, with people exploring what it is and what it isn't. Maybe pop in the comments anything that you're concerned about. Maybe you've heard something about dog listening that you'd like us to talk about. anything. We'll have another discussion about it in another video. Perhaps, like I said, this could be part one, and we could keep this going as a series. This what people think dog listening is versus what it really is.
Yeah,
So,
love it.
please remember, if you would, to like, to subscribe. We will be back soon with another video for you on the holistic nature of dog listening, the 4-piece jigsaw. So we'll see you then. Thanks a lot.